Hello everyone, this is General Hand Grenade. Welcome to my war room in Prince George, British Columbia. In today's video, we are going to be continuing on our Masterclass series, and this episode will be about amphibious assaults. So if you've been watching the Masterclass series all along, you know that this is not about teaching you the rules of the game. The rules of the game, you can find them on HBG's website. Plus, we've done videos on that in the past. What we're really looking at here is how to play the game, like how to actually play it. So then, let's get into it, shall we? The reason I wanted to make an episode for this series on this topic is because the rules regarding amphibious assaults make it a much different experience than what you're used to if you've been playing Global War 1936. And of course, a much different experience if you're used to playing Axis and Allies. In Axis and Allies, I mean, it's not really hard at all to make an amphibious assault. You can just dump all your units off on the first turn and away you go. The only thing that limits you is how many transports you have, and other than that, you might as well be just attacking the territory next door. In Global War 36 is a little more difficult. You only get to use the infantry class units and the planes, and that's the same in this game. The difference in this game is that you don't really have any planes that can do ground strike until you get into the late game, when you can have fighters that have ground strike. And so mostly what you're doing is just getting your shore bombardment and your infantry class units, and that's all you're going to have on the first round. And so you're lucky to get into the second round. I chose this area of the map to do this video because probably at about half of the amphibious assaults you're going to see in a game, if not more, are going to take place in the Mediterranean. And the thing that you'll notice about the Mediterranean as we pan around here is that there is a lot of terrain here. Like, you're either looking at deserts, like down in Africa and the Middle East, or mountains. And so that's going to be even harder to make an amphibious assault when you're going into any type of terrain, because then the infantry class units that you're using are only going to be rolling dice at a 1 for the most part, unless you're using your elite units. But like your regular infantry and your naval infantry, they're all going to be rolling at 1, and so it's really difficult. What to think about when you're doing amphibious assaults: it's not about being dissuaded from doing them. It's about managing your expectations of what is possible with an amphibious assault. You have to almost forget everything you know about amphibious assaults from the other game, despite the fact that the rules are pretty similar. But you just have to forget all that, just because you don't have the weaponry. And so when I talk about managing your expectations, what I'm really talking about is you got to set your goals differently, because you have to accept the fact that it's not going to be possible to do what you do in the other games, because you don't have those aircraft, and because all you do have is the infantry class units on the first round of combat. That's going to make it very difficult for you. But if you manage your expectations, then it's your goals are not the same. You're not going to go into every amphibious assault thinking, okay, I'm just going to take over this territory and that's going to be part of this plan that I have. You might not be expecting to take a territory, but what you might be doing is expecting to do something else that will lead to furthering your goals for that strategy that you have. And so I'm going to show you a couple of examples of what I mean by managing your expectations, and how that plays out in this game. And that's really why I'm doing this series, is to show you that there are different ways that you can do it, and that you're going to have to do it. And even though you're giving up mostly what you know about amphibious assaults from the other games, you're still using it to your advantage. It's still a part of the game. So let's get into that. So first of all, let's take a look at two examples of how to do a simple amphibious assault. We're going to try to amphibiously assault this territory here, and it's in mountain territory. And we're going to use the French to do that. And they're going to have a pretty good force to do it. Now we're going to assume, as we are in the rest of this video, that the defenders are going to have defense in depth. So with 4 infantry here, that means that they have a trench line there. So you're going to want to bring as much as you possibly can. That's one thing about amphibious assaults in this game, is you have to go with an awful lot in order to do anything. So we've got 6 transports, or 3 transports there. That means we can bring 6 units, right? Now, depending on what you have for units, that's going to inform what other kind of things you're going to do, and what your goals can be. So it's going to be pretty difficult to take that territory unless you have the right units. So first of all, we know we're going to take 6 units, so we take a look at what we can bombard with. So we've got those 2 ships there. So we've got 2 cruisers, we've got dreadnought, and we've got 2 pre-dreadnoughts, and we've got another cruiser there we can use. So there we go. We got 3 shots at 2, 1 shot at 4, and 2 shots at 3, and there is no coastal artillery. And so that's pretty good, that getting that many shots and not having to worry about the coastal artillery. We also don't have to worry in this case here about any screening force, because that would make a difference as well. Now, the thing that really is going to help out on an amphibious assault is naval infantry. Let's say that we have 2 naval infantry to take in there. Now that's pretty good, because the defender is going to have rolling 4 at 6, right? So if we got 2 naval infantry that we can go with, then we're going to try to, it's really big what you get for your bombardments. I think it's pretty reasonable to expect that maybe we can get 2 hits out of that. You set a goal anyway, so let's set a goal. We're going to get 2 hits there. So then if we take 2 naval infantry, then they're probably not going to take double casualties off us. Like if we didn't have any naval infantry, then we have to watch it, what we're going to take with that. And then we look at what else is there. So these guys aren't part of the attack, but what we leave there is going to make a difference because of what is here, right? We want to be able to defend this territory after we take it. And so we look at what they've got there, and it's, it's pretty good. It's got 4 infantry and 2 artillery. Who knows, maybe they've got a cavalry or something that can reach as well, right? So it would be good to have infantry left there. And so we think about, okay, well, let's just take 4 infantry in there. So here we go. There's 4 infantry. So there we go. There's our 6 units. And we took those units based upon what we have here and what we have here and what we have bombarding, right? If we were to change things up though, like this is a pretty good attack, and it looks pretty good for taking it. And remember always the time of year that you're going to. If you're going in wintertime, then you can probably expect to not take that out because everybody's got a hit on the first round. So even though you get 2 off on your bombardment, well then all you've got is rolling 6 at 1. And the odds are that you're not going to get 2 hits on that. You're only probably going to get 1, and it's a good chance that you're not going to get any. You might get 2. So you are going to need to have more than 1 round. And of course, if you don't hit your bombardments, then you're going to have pretty low chance of hitting anything. Let's say that you get 2 hits there, but you still have a trench line to begin with, right? So you're going to have 2 back, and let's say they get their 2 hits. Then if you were to take them out, then you might want to leave these guys, right? Because that gives you a trench line against these guys. But if you didn't take them out, Like if you took even one loss, then you might as well keep your naval infantry, because then you can use them for something else on the next turn if you decide to do another amphibious assault. It's just a minor thing, but it's something, right? So that's one thing. Now let's just take these out of here and let's talk about something else now. Let's say instead of that, you had more guys up here, but less guys here. So you're not going to need as much to take that now, are you? And when you looked at bringing the 4 infantry in, they all cost 3 IPPs each, right? But when you're going for an assault into a mountain territory, or into a desert for that matter, it's the same bringing in colonial infantry, or even, let's say we've got this guy here, your trench fighter. They're all going to roll at 1, just like the infantry war. But this is going to cost you 4 IPP cheaper in total, right? Because these all cost $2 each. So you're getting just as many bang for the buck. Oh, here, what I meant to set up was this. So let's just say you didn't have much to take it back with. So you don't need to hold it with much when you take it. So there you go. You can go with cheaper units that are going to attack the same, but they're not going to defend the same if they take it out. Or if you're going to try to attack it knowing that you're not going to take it out, but you have an ulterior motive for attacking it. Like let's say you have tons of stuff here and you're not expecting to take it out. Let's just move more in there. We'll move these guys in there and this in there. And for some reason you want to take that anyway, or you want to attack that anyway. Then go with the cheaper units, because you know you're going to lose them, right? Let's bring these guys in here as well. So it depends on what's there and what you need to be left there, whether or not you bring the cheap units that are going to attack the same as an infantry, or whether you're going to take the infantry, knowing that you're probably going to take it and wanting to defend from the units that are there on the Austro-Hungarian turn in this instance here, right? So these are things that you want to think about ahead of time. You know, what are you going to go with, and what's going to be left behind. Another thing that you have the option of, like here, the French could have brought in the elite units. Now, I might not have wanted to bring those elite units in if you had a bunch of units here, because I might not want to lose them. They're a little bit more expensive, a little bit more valuable. But at the same time, I mean, they're mountain infantry, so they're going into mountains here, and they attack at 3. So there's a way to get more offense right there, right? And another thing, if you have, like if you were to go with that, and 2 artillery, and you only had, let's say you had 2 infantry and an artillery there, well, you're expecting to get a hit or 2 from your boats, right? And then you've got 2 that you can take with your naval infantry. And okay, so you don't get it on the first round. So now the second round comes along. Now you get to use your artillery. You wouldn't want to take the artillery if it's pretty sketchy. Like if you had, say, a bunch more Austro-Hungarian units in there, then I wouldn't take the artillery, because you're going to need as many infantry class units as you can to get those shots on the first round. So depending on the combination of what you have here, that informs you as to whether or not you should bring in some artillery or some other unit. You know, like obviously you couldn't bring in a tank or armored car, because they don't fight in the mountains, right? But you know what I mean, like if you wanted to take cavalry or something, right? You know, it's a little bit better offense, but again, it's not there on the first round. So there's a lot to think about when you're going in, and it's about managing those expectations, being realistic with what you think you can get, because you might only have 2 transports, which means you're going to, let's take the dreadnought off, and let's take one of the pre-dreads off. So now you've only got 3 at 2 and 1 at 3. So that's very different than what we had before, isn't it? So you have to be honest with yourself about what you can accomplish there, and you have to manage that expectation, right? I know I'm not going to get as many off there as I want. Do I still want to do this, or is there another reason for doing that? You know, you might want to be hitting him here just because that's going to draw units away from up north where Russia is, and it's the Russians that are really the main combatant with Austro-Hungarians, and this is just going to distract them and draw some away. Even though you're not expecting to take it out, what you are expecting to do is to draw them away from another fight that you are interested in. And so that's what I mean about managing those expectations. Your expectation in every case shouldn't be that I'm going to take the territory every time I decide to amphibiously assault something. That's just not realistic in this game. So you have to have other goals other than that. Let's take a look at another example now. Now, one of the things about this game is it's very difficult to attack people, and it's not just amphibious assaults; it's everywhere. So, a situation that we've got going on here, which is really common in this game. Let's say you're the Allies in this game, and it's really hard to get into the Middle East here because we've got a trench line here. We've got a trench line over here. We've got lots of British units, but we just can't get in there. And we keep losing more units than we gain every time we attack because, like I said, it's really hard to get in there. So you're looking for something to change that situation. You can keep throwing more and more stuff in there, but it seems like the Ottoman Empire is going to be able to, even though they don't have as much money, they're going to be able to put just enough stuff in there just to keep soaking up your money and keeping that money from going, say, to the Western Front or, somewhere else, Africa, some other place, right? So the Ottoman Empire is doing their job pretty well. Now, we can use an amphibious assault to try to change that situation. And you gotta really be a little bit more creative because, again, you're not just thinking, okay, I'm just gonna go assault this and it's easy and you just take it. You have to manage your expectations. And the expectation in this case is that we're going to try to draw units out of here. Or at the very least, stop them from putting units over here while the British keep adding to their units so that the British forces get bigger, but the Ottoman forces either stay the same or you force them to draw units away. And so it's going to take a lot to do that, right? Like you can't just do one little attack and expect that that's going to change. So that's why you coordinate the navies and the amphibious assaults. And if you take a look around the Mediterranean here, the British have got lots to amphibious assault with, and so do the French. And the other thing is they have enough so that they can probably do it twice. And that's the key there is making sure that you can do a sustained attack. So you probably want to start it in the spring so that then you could do it again in the summertime. And so if you go with the British first, then it's a 1-2 punch because the British will go, and then after them the French will go, and then the Ottomans will go. So you can do 2 assaults on them. You may be able to take them out. Like it'd be great if you could take out Constantinople, but you look on there, I mean, they've got a trench line here, they've got an artillery, they've got coastal artillery, they've got a mountain infantry, they got an elite unit. There's a couple of ships there that they can use to force you to do a screening force with. And, like it's not going to be easy, but what you're thinking is if you're managing your expectations, okay, the British are going to go first, the British are going to get slaughtered. Can I take enough off them so that if I've got a big enough French force, that the French force can now go in and say the Ottoman Navy is gone, and maybe you've broken that trench line, or maybe you've got them down to where that's all they have left is just 4 infantry. And so the French will go, and like if they've got 3 transports and they've got 6 infantry class units, then you can get them down to say where they only have 1 or 2 units left, right? And that's the end of the first amphibious assault. And then the Ottomans get to go, and they don't get much money, right? So they only can replenish to less than what they have here. And if you had stuff to do another amphibious assault, like say your first amphibious assault was over, you've already got some French guys down here in place. You've got lots of British guys down in that area. Plus you bought more and you placed them. And if you have Italy there, then you could say you rail down a couple of Marines down here, right? There you got 4. And then you could put, like if you were able to have 2 units over here, there you go. There's 6 more units right there for the second round, and you've already used your units that you have over here for the first round, but have them in place for the second round, and you've got enough British units for a second round. What I mean about second round, but I mean the next turn, right? So that you can go at them 2 turns in a row. 1 amphibious assault might not do it, but 2, well, now we're talking, right? And if nothing else, you can get the Ottoman Empire to be backpedaling. First of all, they're not going to be moving any units down here where they were before, because they're going to have to replenish it. The last thing anybody wants to do in this game is lose their capital, right? And so they have to defend their capital. They can't be furthering their goals in the Middle East if they're doing that. And so there you go. Like that's managing your expectations. You're not necessarily expecting to take out their capital. You're hoping. I mean, if you rolled good, if you rolled lights out, if the dice gods are on your side, then sure, you might be able to get Constantinople. And that might even, lead to a surrender in the game. Like one of the nations losing their capital like that, depending on what's happening in the rest of the board, right? But that could turn the game around if you were losing, or it could end the game if you were already winning, just slightly. And, if the game was pretty even, well, that's going to tip it in your favor, right? So, yeah, it'd be great to get that. But you got to manage that, though. You can't just throw all your eggs into that basket and say, well, if we don't get this, like, what's your real goal? Your real goal in this case was to make headway into the Middle East. And then once you start taking these out, like if you take this territory and this territory and this territory, they don't start with that much money anyway. So you're losing that much money, and also there's points at the end of the game down there for you to get, and that's really what the goal is to get points and to win the game, right? So you've got enough ships around that you can do that. Like here, you got the British. There's a transport. There's 1. There's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, there's 6. There you go. You got 6 ships to bombard with, and there's a second transport and a third transport. So there's 3 transports for the British. We've got 3 transports for the French and 6 ships to bombard with. Now that's a lot. You might not have that many. It could be that you only have 2 transports. And also be advised that if you're using pre-dreadnoughts, like they're really good for bombarding, but you have to have them in place because, especially if you're not at a major port, they're only going one space. And so you kind of have to have them right where you need them to begin with. And that's why I've got this guy, the French one up here, right? I've put him in place over here. Not saying that I'm going to amphibiously assault that guy. Like there could be another reason to have him there, right? You just want to make sure that you have them close enough. And the other guy I've got here, like I might have had him up here, and I'm going to go down here and I'm going to help these guys out, protect down here. When really what you're doing is getting him in place because there's a major port there. You go 1, you go 2, and then he's bombarding into Constantinople. And so that's what you're doing. Now, remember I talked about with the Austro-Hungarians there, it would be great to get Constantinople, but if it's stacked up like that, and say one of you only have 2 transports, then it could be that all you're really doing is just throwing away your money, because like you could be losing ships and to the coastal artillery, and they're obviously going to get lots of hits on you, right? And if you're not going to break their trench line, then really all you're doing is losing units, and you might only get 1 or 2 units off them. The French go in there and they only get 1 or 2 units and they lose a bunch. So you lost badly there. And if, like they might not even have to replenish there. And if they do, then they might only have to replenish half their units there. So the other thing you can do, if you're properly managing your expectations, is to assault this territory right here. So the British go in and you look at it, there's only 2 units there. There's no coastal artillery. So if the British are able to take this out, and in this case, you would definitely want to be going with the infantry instead of the colonial infantry, as many infantry class units as you can. Regular infantry as you can, instead of those. Or, like you've got your Gurkhas, if there's some around, they're going to be defending at 5 in mountains. So there you go, you take that out, and then you've got the 3 French transports. You're dropping 6 French guys in here. Let's say you had 3 or 4 British guys already in here. Well, that's going to be almost impossible for them to take out, especially if you put them there in the summer instead of the spring, or if you manage, like if they only had 2 there, then you put them in the winter time. Well, now they've only got 1 turn. They got lots of stuff there, but they've only got 1 turn to try to take them out. And again, they're attacking into mountains with infantry class units, and the defense has the advantage. There's another way of taking off a lot of Ottoman units and sucking them out of the Middle East, just by using an amphibious assault. You're doing what you can. You're setting realistic goals. I've done that before though too. Like sometimes you just do that. You just okay, we've got nothing else. You know what? Let's just send this 1 transport into Constantinople. It's not going to get it, but hey, let's try it, right? Sure, that's something, but realistically though, you're not going to get that. 1 out of 1,000 times you might make some headway there. So just make sure that you are honest with yourself and with your partners, if you're playing with other people on your side, of what you can accomplish. Don't think that the only thing that you do an amphibious assault for is to take out a territory. That could just be, hey, that'd be great if we get it, but really what you're looking at is something less than that, to get yourself a different goal, right? Like in this case here, it was to take that. And this is, we're just showing you the Allies versus Constantinople and the Ottoman Empire there. You could transfer that anywhere. The British against the Germans, or the Germans against the Russians. It takes a little more thought to plan these things out, because again, it's not just that simple as taking these guys and these transports and taking this territory. It's thinking about it longer term than that. You don't have the different type of units in the game to accomplish, or to take them back if you do accomplish. And so just give it a lot more thought. Anyway, these are just some thoughts. Like, I could go on for a long time about this. There's lots to talk about with this. But really, I think that's a pretty good start for you, is just to throw those thoughts in your head. Be aware of what you have. There's a lot of different infantry class units. They cost different. And what do you need them for, and what do you need them to do after that? Are you going into terrain, or are you going into flat ground? That makes a difference as well. So I'm just going to leave you with that right there. Now, I'm not sure what the next one the next video is going to be on. If you have a suggestion, if you want to know a little bit more about some aspect of the game, then just leave me a comment there. And if I think it's something that I can address, then I'll do that. Anyway, I'll leave it right there. So take care, everyone. General Hand Grenade out.